Forget what the textbooks told you. The history you were raised on is a sanitized fairy tale, a bedtime story designed to mask the machinery of slaughter. They want you to believe that global conflict is sparked by a single chaotic moment, a madman's twitching finger, a surprise raid at dawn, a prince bleeding out in a carriage. That is the theatrical version. It is clean, it is dramatic, and it is a lie. The truth is far colder. The truth is that by the time the tanks start rolling, the war is already over. The real war, the one that actually matters, is fought in silence years before the first missile flies. It is fought in the dark corners of central bank ledgers and the freezing meeting rooms of desperate empires. War is not a political failure. War is a bankruptcy proceeding with guns. And if you know how to read the balance sheets of history, you know that we are not standing on the precipice of World War III. We are already falling. Welcome to the economics of fallen empires. It is January 2026, and while the news distracts you with political theater, the tectonic plates of the global economy are snapping. The grand illusion of stability has shattered. The United States is now dragging a $38 trillion chain of debt trillion with a T. We are burning through $2 trillion a year, hemorrhaging $6 billion every single day just to pay the interest on our own gluttony. We are not running a government anymore. We are running a Ponzi scheme with a nuclear arsenal. Look east, and the picture gets darker. China's real estate colossus, the vault where 1 billion people stored their sweat and blood, has turned to dust. $10 trillion of perceived wealth has simply evaporated, leaving behind ghost cities and a population with nothing left to lose. The Chinese Communist Party is staring down the barrel of the one thing they fear more than American carriers: their own hungry, angry citizens. The safeguards are gone. The petrodollar is a memory. The global trust that held the American century together is dissolving like acid. Gold just smashed through the ceiling to hit $4,600 an ounce. That isn't an investment opportunity. That is a siren. When gold moves like that, it means the smart money is fleeing the burning building before the roof collapses. Academics call this a structural convergence. Here at the Economics of Fallen Empires, we use the proper term, the death spiral. To understand why 2026 is the year the music stops, you have to strip away the mythology of 1914. We are taught that World War I began because an archduke died in Sarajevo. That is nonsense. Sarajevo was just the excuse. The British Empire was financially strangling Germany, locking them out of markets, denying them resources, and suffocating their industrial rise. Germany didn't go to war because they were evil. They went to war because the British pounded the sell button on the German economy until Berlin had only two choices: starve slowly or fight immediately. When a rising power realizes it is being suffocated by the established order, it stops calculating profits and starts calculating casualties. Fast forward to right now. The players have changed, but the game is identical. The United States is the fading British Empire, drowning in debt and weaponizing its financial dominance. China is 1914 Germany, an industrial titan realizing the walls are closing in. We have surrounded them with tariffs, choked them with chip bans, and frozen them out of the dollar system. We have built the cage. Now we are surprised that the beast is trying to break the bars. This is not about ideology. This is about arithmetic. Global debt has breached $320 trillion. That is 3.5 times the economic output of the entire human race. We have promised more money than exists in the universe. When nations reach this mathematical dead end, they have 3 exits: austerity, default, or war. Austerity means telling your citizens they will be poor forever. That gets politicians dragged into the streets. Default means the banking system turns to ash overnight. That destroys the nation instantly. That leaves only one door open: war. War is the ultimate accountant. It allows you to print money without apology. It allows you to seize assets. And most importantly, it allows you to look at the trillions you owe your enemy and wipe the slate clean with a stroke of the pen. We are watching the fuse burn down in real time. Just look at the last 30 days. In December 2025, Beijing dumped $15 billion in U.S. treasuries. They are not rebalancing, they are liquidating. By January 15th, 2026, the 10-year Treasury yield screamed up to 4.80%, defying the Federal Reserve. The bond market is effectively rioting. It knows the default is coming. Then came the geopolitical spasms. On January 18th, the Trump administration floated the idea of seizing Greenland, not buying it, seizing it. That is the erratic behavior of a desperate debtor looking for collateral. 2 days later, on January 20th, the nightmare scenario became ink on paper. China and Russia signed a formal military alliance. The anti-dollar axis is no longer a theory. It is a nuclear-armed reality. We weaponized the dollar in 2022 when we froze Russia's reserves. It felt righteous then, but it was a strategic suicide bill. We told the world, your money is yours only until we decide it isn't. The world heard the message loud and clear. Now, the BRICS nations are building their own lifeboat. Saudi Arabia is taking yuan for oil. The dominance of the dollar is dying a death of 1,000 cuts, and with it goes America's ability to print its way out of trouble. And the timing could not be worse. We are hitting the maturity wall. Remember the trillions in free money corporations borrowed in 2020 and 2021? Those bills are coming due in 2026, but you can't refinance at 0% anymore. You have to refinance at 6%. The math is brutal. Thousands of zombie companies are walking dead, about to collapse under the weight of their own interest payments. This is the catalyst. When the corporate defaults start cascading in March and April, the banking system will buckle. When the banks buckle, the printing presses will roar to life one last time. And that is when the dollar breaks. Hyperinflation is the engine. War is the steering wheel. By summer 2026, as the dollar loses a quarter of its value in weeks, and gas hits $12 a gallon, the internal pressure in the U.S. will be uncontrollable. A fractured, impoverished population will be looking for someone to blame. The elites will not let that anger turn on them. They will point it outward. They will give you a foreign enemy to unite against, because the alternative is a domestic revolution. The roadmap is terrifyingly clear. Economic strangulation leads to military desperation. Desperation leads to a trigger event, a ship collision, a downed jet, a cyber addict that blacks out the grid. Suddenly, your credit card doesn't work. The ATMs are dark. The digital wealth you spent a lifetime accumulating is just zeros and ones on a hard drive that won't spin. In that moment, the only things that matter are what you can touch, what you can eat, and what you can defend. This is the thesis of The Economics of Fallen Empires. We are not predicting a recession. We are mapping the end of the post-1945 world order. The era of paper promises is burning down, and the era of hard assets and hard power is rising from the smoke. You are not paranoid for preparing. You are paying attention. The 2026 crisis isn't an approaching storm. It is the hurricane that is already tearing the roof off. The patterns of 1914 and 1939 are screaming at us. The debt is terminal. The alliances are set. The trigger is primed. The story of the next decade is being written right now in the ink of bad debt, and soon it will be written in blood. Do not let yourself be a bystander in your own survival. If this analysis pierced the veil for you, subscribe and turn on notifications. Our next transmission will focus on the armor you need to survive the crash, the specific assets and strategies to carry you through the fire. The silence is over. The scream is beginning. Stay ready.